Alrighty, so I am back to hopefully, finally, finish off the Lethal Weapon franchise with kind of the outlier of the franchise. This one was very rush production, a year from green light to finding a script to production to release, which is not all the way that goes. Usually it's a finished script, green light, pre production, shooting, post production, release. But this was very let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Gotta make money. So it kind of feels a little weary in the writing department, mostly because the script was literally being rewritten as they went. Everybody comes back from the last ones. We do get a new character, Lee Butters, played by Chris Rock, and he's not a great addition. Usually, in this franchise, when a character is introduced, their introduction is great, and they definitely hold up enough to where when you hear they're coming out in the next one, you're happy. But he doesn't really work for me. And that's not a slight on Chris Rock. I think the character was just very poorly written and very poorly handled. Because when he was first written, he was supposed to be gay, and that was supposed to be the joke because it's the 90s. Ooh, gay guy. But then later on, it was changed, and he would actually be Roger's daughter's husband, Rianne, the daughter who's gotten literally the most amount of screen time out of any of Roger's kids. And it feels a little loose there because they really don't hang out too much. But then we got to get to the actual plot of the movie. The actual plot is the Hong Kong triad comes to America to print fake Chinese money to buy back the top tier triad guys from the Chinese government, thanks to a corrupt general who is willing to sneak them out of China into the States for an exorbitant, a lot of money. And that's our plot. That's literally it. When do we learn about this plot? 5 minutes before the climax. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first one, we found out that that drug runners were behind everything pretty early on. Like, relatively early on, probably halfway through the movie, figured it out. Second one, drug dealers running Cougarans from South Africa. We figured that out probably about 45 minutes into the movie, an hour, tops. Like, we literally needed Leo to be introduced to connect it all. But that was it. Like, and we even knew at the beginning they were on a drug run, and we found a shitload of South African money in the trunk. Maybe they're connected. Yeah. And then the third one, all right, it was a mystery. It's a dirty cop running guns. All right. But we always had Lorna who knew about it because she was already working this case. So it wasn't until her and Riggs started working together that we figured it out. Like, all right, that's not bad. And again, halfway through the film, figured it out. We don't even learn what these guys are up to until almost the end of the movie, and it's irritating. But what about the character plots? How do those work out? Babies. That's literally it. Roger's daughter Rianne is pregnant. He learns that at the very beginning of the film. She's pregnant, not married. Who's the father? Riggs doesn't know. All right, well, now Riggs finds out in the same scene that his girlfriend Lorna, again played by Renee Russo, she's pregnant. And he's going to be a dad and all that. And then we literally skip almost 9 months later to the start of the actual movie. I feel like that's kind of weak. We don't really get a lot, especially because in the first scene that they come back together, Roger's asking him about marriage. Like, I think this is something that a conversation they would have had 6 months ago. So, yeah, it feels so loose. And Roger doesn't like that his daughter's having a baby and she's not married. But come to find out, she's actually married to Butters, but because he's a cop, they're keeping it on the hush-hush, and nobody can know until Riggs finds out, because Lorna, again, 9 months pregnant, kind of gets turned around, hormones and all that. Outs Butters, and then Riggs almost outs Butters to Roger literally 10 seconds in his front door. So that's kind of where Riggs is he's playing the, are we going to get married, are we not going to get married, do I want to get married? He's having to kind of deal with that throughout the course of the movie. And even openly admits he loves Lorna, he wants, happy family, all that, but he's also being held back because his the last marriage ended really bad entirely on the basis that he's a cop, which he still is, and he's still doing stupid shit. Is it going to work? Now, Roger does get an actual other plot, and that would be Chinese immigrants being brought into America to be sold off to sweatshops for cheap labor. He finds a family in a lifeboat when one of these ships runs ashore, brings them into his home to keep them out of getting deported. So, all right, I'll go with it. It's not a bad idea. It's not terrible. I think it really sticks up for the way Roger's been throughout the whole series, is very family-oriented. This is a family who came from poverty in China, went through a month-long boat trip that was literally shoulder to shoulder in the brig. Everybody shoulder to shoulder for a month. That's bad. And now they've come to America. They were going to go be working in a sweatshop, but no, they're going to stay here. I'm going to help them out. That's very Roger. That's very Captain America. That's exactly what Roger would do. Which they even end up tying into the main plot, because the entire family was brought over as, in lieu of payment, an artist, their uncle, is working for the Triads to make the fake money for them, and bringing them over was his payment. And he's been dragging his feet until they do find them. So, and then we get the reintroduction of Leo, which Joe Pesci, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love him. But again, like with 3, I feel like he's very shoehorned in here, except for like one scene way towards the end. And it's just kind of weak. I don't hate it. Like, I mean, I know I'm kind of digging into this, but I do enjoy it. And a lot of that goes entirely to the cast. Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Rene Russo, like, they know what they're doing. Every one of them has great chemistry with each other, and that's definitely the saving grace of this film. Another saving grace is the action, and that ends up coming down to Jet Li. He's cast as the main villain, whose name we don't even learn until 3 minutes before the climax, so he's just Jet Li. He's head honcho of the Triad, and one of his brothers is one of the higher-ups who was arrested in China, and he's going to be buying him back. And Jet Li, this was 98, so he never really worked in America, and especially in an American film. I think he might have filmed another movie over here, but this was going to be his big breakout role. And he does a phenomenally good job. And a lot of that does play on the martial arts stereotype of the quiet guy who stands in the corner is the guy who's going to punch you really hard in the face. Like, before the end credits roll, you know he's going to kick somebody's head off. And Jet Li definitely the guy for that. And that's kind of where the best parts of the movie are. In both action scenes, well, both of the bigger action scenes he's he's absolutely spectacular. The first one is when he takes a bunch of goons to get the Chinese family out of Roger's house and ends up having to square off with Riggs and Roger, which I absolutely love that scene. I even loved it when I was a kid, because both of them have guns on him. He just smiles, hits Roger, and then takes Riggs' gun apart with one move. It's like he's got to press something down, push something in, and pull the slide off. I don't know a lot about firearms, but I know that that's pretty cool. Probably couldn't actually do it, but it's still pretty cool. And then the plot just kind of keeps leapfrogging from there, because after that they go check out a dirty guy in Chinatown that they know is dirty and was working with Jet Li, and he doesn't give him much except for buying back forefathers, which they mistook as forefathers like Washington and Jefferson, like we would know here in the States, but it was actually the number 4 forefathers, the top guys of the Triad. Thankfully, though, we get a new character, Detective Ng, who is, I don't know if he's a Chinese immigrant who just came over when he was real little, learned English, became a detective, or if he was born here. I don't know, because we literally get nothing about him. We barely get his name, and he's just our Chinese exposition machine. Because when they mentioned forefathers to him towards the end of the film, he's like, oh, it's the number 4, it's these guys, and like, oh, what's all this stuff they're printing? Oh, it's Chinese money, and oh, I know what they're doing. They're buying these guys, and they just went missing from China, and I bet you I know where they are, and he happens to know exactly where the trade's going down, because we just got to get there. It's weak.
do love the final fight. Riggs and Roger completely outdoes Dirty Money. Corrupt General starts shooting. Jelly and his goons start shooting. Fight ensues. Butters catches one in the shoulder for Roger, keep him safe. And the character of Butters is really not well written, but I do like that going back now knowing the twist of his character. You can see like, oh, he's not ass kissing Roger, pretending to get coffee and telling him, asking him how his day is, all that stuff. It's actually he's trying to butter him up. I'm not sorry. Because Roger won't like that he's a cop and he's married to his daughter. And so that kind of works. It's kind of the one thing that didn't carry over from the original Planet of Butters into this one. I don't hate it, I just don't think it's particularly great. The fun fight, however, is great because Roger ends up trying to shoot Jelly, hits the brother. Brother dies, Riggs and Roger have to square off with him. And one thing I gotta point out about this movie is that pretty much from the beginning, after the boat runs around towards the beginning of the film, Riggs isn't at 100%. He got his ass kicked on the boat, he failed to catch a guy later in the film. He gets beat up by another rookie cop while they're training in a boxing ring. And it's just this realization that Riggs is getting older. Because timeline-wise, Riggs would be roughly about 50 now, the same age Roger was in the first one. So I like that. It kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. To kind of get rid of this, I'm getting older, things are changing. Can I change with it? How's that going to work? So I do really dig that. Riggs has always been kind of the weird plot frontrunner. He's gotten the most development over the course of all these films, and I think that this was the perfect way to kind of round him out at the end. But the final fight is absolutely spectacular. Jet Li, wushu martial artist extraordinaire, faster than lightning, so fast in fact that they had to literally bring Roger into the final fight because there was no way anybody could believe that Riggs could take him one-on-one. So it's very much a speed and mobility versus brute strength, which I always kind of love those fights. But yeah, Jet Li it's an ass whooping, fucking top to down, left to right. He absolutely dominates this fight. And it's only sheer luck that Riggs manages to actually kill him. Absolute ridiculous pure luck. If it hadn't literally been 2-on-1, it probably wouldn't have happened. So I do enjoy that. The end of the film, post-climax, I do enjoy. It is the one good scene I think Leo actually has in this. The one scene that rounds out his character. Because Riggs is talking to his late wife at her grave about how he doesn't know if he's ready. Like, he wants to be ready, but he can't. There's a lot of that old turmoil still in him when Leo shows up. And Leo tells him basically that he was alone for so much of his life, and the only friend he ever had was a pet frog when he was a kid. He was an orphan, and frog ended up getting killed when it jumped out of a box, and Leo ran over him with his back tire, and that was it. He kind of shot himself down after that, but then he met Roger and Riggs, and they really sort of adopted him, sort of the same way you would a stray dog. And even Riggs outs it like, we're terrible to you, we don't treat you right. But Leo instantly says, no, you guys literally brought me into your life. Like, it started out, you guys were just babysitting me. And the very first thing you did was save my life. And then after that, you brought me into your homes, you brought me into your life. You treated me like a friend, like a brother, like family. And it's just a really good way that they kind of rounded out Leo's character over the course of these films, because he was very shoehorned in 3, exposition machine there. And he was, I'm not going to say a lot better in this one, but he wasn't as much of an exposition machine. So I got to love him for that. Then Lorna goes into labor. She wants to get married. Riggs wants to get married. Leo finds a rabbi, because whatever you need, Leo gets. And film ends. Lorna had a beautiful, healthy baby. Rianne had a beautiful, healthy baby. Everybody comes together, picture, credits. I mean, I enjoy the credits. I definitely gotta shout out the credits here, because it's basically just as the credits are rolling, they're flipping through a scrapbook that has pictures of
all four of the films, various shots, and then some behind the scenes production photos of like the cameraman and catering and talking to Richard Donner, Joel Silver, stuff like that. I think it's definitely a good way to round out the franchise at this point because it'd been running for about 10 years now. So I really do enjoy that. But I just think that there are a lot of holes in this. I think if they would have pushed the film back maybe 3 months, another 3 months and ironed out some more details, they could have definitely turned in a very good film. But there's so many logistical holes and leapfrogging throughout the plot because, like, uh, they're stuck. They don't know what to do after they visit Uncle Benny in Chinatown, the guy who's supposed to be in on everything. Visit him, chase after the guy who beat up Riggs on the boat at the beginning, and lose him. Now they're stuck. They got nothing. They don't know what to do. Then Jet Li shows up. Like, he's literally here just to get the hongs. If he'd have got the hongs and shot everybody, that would have been it. No, they'd have never known who actually did it. They couldn't have done much. The most they could have done was show up just the two of them to do something. So it feels weak there. Then Detective Ing, who is just exposition machine. He's just here to explain the Chinese stuff. It feels really weak. But do I hate it? No. As a kid, I love this movie so much. As an adult, I can definitely see a lot of the flaws. But definitely the thing that keeps me coming back is the action. And kind of the character moments, more or less. But again, loving it as a kid, I love the action. Martial arts has always been something I've been interested in seeing in film. A lot of that comes from just being a 90s kid. You know, if you know, you know. But I don't think that this film particularly holds up that well. Will I watch it if it's on? Yes. Will I just randomly throw it in? Also, yes. So I kind of got to give it a leg up on 3. But it's not particularly great. So where does it fall for me? I guess at end of the day, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Not a particularly high 3, probably a little closer to a 2. But the action and the characters and the acting are just good enough for me to say it's definitely worth just throwing in. So with that, everybody have a nice day.